Hello, friend. Welcome to Science for Sleep. Tonight, we begin with something small. A soft question resting beneath your head, almost too familiar to notice. Why do we sleep with pillows? Why do we place something beneath our heads every night as if the earth itself is not enough? This quiet habit feels ancient, instinctive, but it isn't. And that small detail carries a story. If you enjoy these quiet journeys, you're welcome to subscribe. And if it feels natural, to leave a comment sharing where you're listening from tonight. It helps others find their way to this calm corner of the world, one sleepy traveler at a time. The quiet continues here, just as it is. The pillow beneath your head tonight likely holds feathers, foam, or soft synthetic fill. But the very first objects used for this purpose were carved from stone. In ancient Mesopotamia, around 9,000 years ago, humans shaped blocks of rock into curved supports for the head. Not for comfort, but to lift the face above crawling insects and dust. These were hard, deliberate tools, not cushions. And long before that, there were no pillows at all. Just the earth, and the human body learning to rest against it. Early humans curled into sleep on grasses and packed soil, sometimes using an arm beneath the head, or folding animal skins beneath the neck. They shaped sleep from the materials around them. But the concept of a pillow, something set aside only for the head, emerged slowly. There is no fossil of the first pillow, but there are hints. The way some sleeping postures press the face into the ground, the way the neck curves naturally, the way firelight casts warmth across the skin while the body lies still. We know that even in the most minimal conditions, people looked for small lifts beneath the skull. A folded cloak, a smooth stone, a bundle of straw. The pillow was not invented all at once. It arose from thousands of small decisions, repeated night after night, until eventually it became a pattern. A gesture of care for the neck, the head, the breath. And as human sleep changed, so did the things that surrounded it. The ground gave way to mats. Mats gave way to bedding. Surfaces softened. Elevation became normal. And with that came new challenges. A flat head on a soft bed often tilts uncomfortably. The spine bends. The throat may close slightly. And so the pillow remained, adapting with each shift. But even now, there are people who sleep without them. In some cultures, the head rests on a wooden support, or nothing at all. And in many cases, they sleep well. Which brings us back to the question, do we need pillows, or do we just grow used to them? Science offers no final answer. Some studies suggest that a well-fitted pillow improves spinal alignment. Others find little difference at all. Anatomy varies. So does habit. What supports one neck may strain another. But beneath the variety is something constant. The human desire for rest that feels safe. And so, each night, we lift the head. Just slightly. Not always for health, not always for comfort, but often because it feels right. Because the body recognizes something in that gentle tilt. A signal of care, a sign of shelter. And in that way, the pillow becomes more than a shape. It becomes part of the ritual that tells the nervous system it is time to let go. I'm glad you're here. There are places where no pillow has ever touched the ground, and yet the people who sleep there rest just the same. Long before pillows were shaped or sewn, humans adapted their bodies to the contours of the earth. The shape of a shoulder, the bend of an arm, the fold of a pelt. These were the first supports. Not designed, not crafted, just found. A curled sleeping posture, side lying with knees drawn, allows the head to rest upon the upper arm. In this position, the shoulder rises slightly, and the elbow may bend to offer a natural slope. The skull rests against the muscle and bone of the body itself, cushioned by skin and tension. It is one of the oldest postures we know, shared by animals, children, and people the world over. A posture shaped by gravity and warmth. Anthropologists studying contemporary hunter-gatherer communities have observed that this form of sleeping, side-lying with an arm under the head, remains common where bedding is minimal. In these settings, the arm becomes a living pillow. Its angle can be adjusted. It can be tucked away or stretched out. And unlike cloth or stuffing, it remains connected to the sleeper, adapting to subtle shifts throughout the night. Sometimes, the head rests against folded clothing. A tunic, a fur, a piece of cloth set aside at the end of the day. In some regions, the earth itself is the only support. A hollow scraped into soft sand, a patch of moss, a gentle slope. Sleep is shaped by what is present. No object must be invented when the environment provides. Even stones become cradles. A smooth rock, warmed by sunlight, may be pressed into service. Not soft, but not sharp. Just enough to lift the jaw from the dirt, enough to feel a difference. This kind of sleep uses what is available without demand. It does not wait for ideal conditions. In alpine regions and dry savannas, people have been known to sleep in kneeling positions, folding forward so that the head rests on the forearms or on the knees. The pillow in these cases is the curve of the body itself, folded inward. A loop, closed for warmth, for protection, for stillness. What all of these improvisations share is not a material, but a motion, a gesture. The decision to raise the head just slightly, to shape the night with one small comfort. These early gestures formed the blueprint for something we would later come to name. Even now, when we fall asleep on a couch, on a plane, or outside in a patch of grass, the instinct returns. The head leans, the shoulder lifts, a jacket becomes a cushion, the hands fold beneath the cheek. There is something in the human body that seeks this arrangement. And though the materials have changed, the impulse remains. Before pillows were pillows, they were simply the nearest kindness the world could offer. A fold, a curve, a pause in the shape of support. There's a moment in human history when the pillow became something deliberate. Not a folded arm, not a nearby stone, but a thing made for sleep. A tool for rest. Something carved or chosen and placed beneath the head again and again. Not out of accident, but out of intention. What could have caused this? It's easy to think of comfort first. A desire for softness. A wish to lift the head just enough. But the earliest true pillows were not soft at all. In Mesopotamia, around 7000 BCE, the first purpose-built headrests were made of stone. Heavy, curved slabs, shaped by hand, meant to elevate the skull above the ground. They were not gentle, but they served a purpose. In an environment where insects crawled freely through dark spaces, lifting the head just a few inches could mean a quieter night. These stone pillows did not invite sleep so much as defend it. They acted as barriers, lifting the mouth and ears above the floor, where ants or beetles might wander. This was not about luxury. It was about solving a problem. And yet, only some people had them. Stone, though abundant, still required labor to carve. To own multiple headrests, to decorate them, to pass them down. This was a signal, a way to show one's place in the world. The pillow, from the beginning, carried more than just the head. It carried status. Egyptian pillows tell a similar story. Not soft cushions, but arched wooden stands, often intricately designed. These were used in life and more often in death. Pharaohs and nobles were buried with their headrests. Some bore protective symbols like the god Bes, who was thought to guard the sleeper from evil. In this way, the pillow crossed into the spiritual. It was no longer just for physical protection, but for metaphysical safety too. A raised head became not only a practical decision, but a sacred one. In ancient China, the function of the pillow took yet another turn. There, hard porcelain pillows were common, beautiful, smooth, and cool to the touch. They were not meant to yield beneath the weight of the skull, but to preserve alignment, to promote proper energy flow through the body. A soft pillow, according to some traditional beliefs, could weaken the mind or scatter dreams. Hardness was linked to health, and in some cases, to wisdom. It was said that certain materials, jade, porcelain, particular woods, could enhance one's vitality, even one's intellect, through the night. Here, the pillow was not only a support, but a remedy, a silent participant in the body's restoration. What connects all of these early examples is not comfort alone, nor necessity alone, but something more layered, a blending of function and meaning. The pillow kept insects away. It lifted the mouth from the dust. But it also said something about who you were, what you believed, what you valued. To have a pillow was, in many cases, to have resources. To have a shaped object dedicated only to sleep, something that could not be eaten, worn, or traded easily, meant you had enough to invest in rest itself. That investment turned the pillow into a marker. It told others that you had the means to protect your dreams. And perhaps that is where comfort truly begins. Not in the softness of the object, but in the safety it implies. In the sense that someone, somewhere, has taken the time to make sleep easier. Over time, pillows would become softer. They would be filled with wool and feathers, stacked 2 or 3 high in the homes of the wealthy. But their meaning always drifted between the practical and the symbolic. A lift for the head, a sign of care, a quiet declaration. Here, there is enough room in the day for rest. Somewhere along 2 ancient rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates, early humans began to shape their sleep. These rivers flowed through a region that is now modern-day Iraq, once known as Mesopotamia. The name means land between rivers. It was here that some of the world's first cities formed, and where the first known pillows appeared. But these pillows were not soft. They were carved entirely from stone. Roughly 9,000 years ago, long before cotton, wool stuffing, or sewn fabric, people in Mesopotamia began shaping solid blocks of rock into headrests. These early pillows were functional. Their purpose wasn't to cradle the head in comfort, but to raise it gently off the ground. Each one was smoothed and curved at the top to support the base of the skull, while the underside was wide and stable to prevent tipping during sleep. The elevation wasn't much, just a few inches. But in a world where people slept close to the earth, it was enough to make a difference. Houses at the time were simple. Walls were made of dried mud bricks. Floors were packed dirt. Beds were mats, if they existed at all. And the night was not quiet. Insects moved freely across the ground. Small creatures sought warmth or shelter. A sleeping person, lying with their face directly on the earth, was vulnerable to interruption. A stone pillow solved a problem. By lifting the head, it protected the ears, nose, and mouth from crawling intruders. It kept the skin cleaner, drier, and further from the grit of soil. In this sense, it was a tool, not for softness, but for safety. But carving a stone into the shape of a headrest was not easy. It required knowledge, tools, and time. Because of this, stone pillows were not made by everyone. They were found most often in the homes of those with resources, families who had artisans or the wealth to commission such things. Owning a pillow in this early world became a sign. The number of stone pillows in a home could reflect a person's status. A household with one pillow had solved a practical need. A household with many, perhaps in different rooms, or decorated with symbols, had declared its place in society. These early pillows became quiet indicators of wealth and refinement. Some were even carved with patterns, simple lines, spirals. In a few cases, symbols that may have had religious meaning. Archaeologists have found them buried with their owners, placed beside the head as a kind of companion for the next life. In this way, the pillow became more than a functional object. It became personal. There is something both ordinary and remarkable about this. A shaped piece of rock, resting at the head of a sleeping mat, becoming both a comfort and a symbol. It suggests that even in early civilizations, people paid attention to the details of rest. They noticed that lifting the head improved the night, that a small curve of stone could bring ease. Today, a stone pillow sounds harsh, cold, heavy, but comfort is relative. What mattered then was stillness, cleanliness, protection. On a floor of dirt, a pillow made from stone could feel like a luxury, and it lasted. Unlike a cloth cushion or a bundle of straw, a carved pillow did not decay. It could be used for years, even passed down. Its surface might be worn smooth by generations of heads. Its base might carry the shape of one person's sleep and then another's. In this way, the stone pillow became not just a solution, but a tradition. We don't sleep on stone anymore, but we still place something beneath our heads. The instinct remains to lift, to protect, to sleep just slightly above the ground. Even now, that small elevation feels natural, as if the pillow has always been there. But its beginnings were simple. A curve of rock, a gesture of care, carved into something that endures. Far from the cool riverbanks of Mesopotamia, where stone pillows first lifted the head from the earth, another civilization was shaping sleep with intention, though this time, not just for the night, but for eternity. In ancient Egypt, pillows took a different form. They were not soft cushions or bundled cloth, and they were not carved only for comfort. Egyptian pillows were crafted as headrests, curved supports made from wood, stone, ivory, and sometimes even ceramic. Each one was designed to cradle the base of the skull, arching upward to hold the head while the rest of the body remained flat. But these were not just functional objects, they were symbols, and in many cases, sacred ones. The Egyptian headrest was a common feature in tombs, temples, and the daily lives of those who could afford them. Often, they stood about 6 to 8 inches tall, with a flat base and an upward arch shaped like a shallow crescent. The top curve supported the neck, and sometimes a piece of cloth or padded fabric was placed between the head and the wood. Yet what made these pillows remarkable was not their form, but what they meant. In Egyptian belief, the head was not just another part of the body. It was the vessel of identity, of memory, of breath and spirit. To protect the head was to protect the essence of a person, their ka, the life force that persisted beyond death. Sleep itself was viewed as a temporary passage into the realm of the unknown, and the transition between wakefulness and the afterlife was not so sharply divided. For this reason, headrests were often placed beneath the heads of mummies in tombs. They were not left there as decoration. They were guardians. Some were carved with images of protective gods. One of the most common was Bes, a short, lion-faced deity known to shield people from evil spirits, especially during vulnerable moments like childbirth or sleep. A headrest carved with Bes might have been placed beneath a child's head, or an adult's, as both a practical support and a spiritual shield. Other headrests were inscribed with texts or spells meant to guard the sleeper. In funerary contexts, these inscriptions were believed to help the deceased rise again. One common theme was the idea of raising the head, a symbol of awakening, of renewal, of movement from the stillness of death into the light of the afterlife. To lift the head was to prepare for return. In this way, the Egyptian pillow became a threshold, a place where two worlds met, the known and the unseen. And even in life, the pillow carried meaning. In hot climates, sleeping flat against the ground could be stifling. Elevating the head allowed for airflow, cooling the neck and face. It also kept elaborate hairstyles intact, wigs and braids that were time-consuming to craft. A wooden headrest, hard and narrow, might seem severe to us now, but to someone resting on woven mats beside the Nile, it was a tool of comfort and preservation. Like in Mesopotamia, not everyone had a headrest. They were more common among the noble class, among scribes, priests, and those who could afford specialized objects. But they were not entirely out of reach. Simpler versions existed, made of undecorated wood, smoothed only by repeated use. And whether plain or ornate, their purpose remained consistent: to lift the head, to hold it still, and to protect it while the body slept. There is something delicate in this, the act of caring for the part of ourselves that dreams, that sees, that speaks. Even in sleep, even in death, the Egyptians honored the head as something more than physical. That reverence endures in the objects they left behind. Some of these headrests survive today in museum collections, their wood darkened with age, their stone polished smooth. Their shapes are simple, but unmistakable. An arch, a base, a space for the neck. They have outlasted the lives they once served. And when you see them now behind glass, you can still picture them in their original places, beside mats, inside tombs, beneath the heads of sleeping bodies. Not soft, not gentle in texture, but deeply intentional. A bridge between the earth and the breath, between the moment of rest and the mystery beyond it. To lie on such a pillow was not just to sleep, it was to be held between worlds. And perhaps that is what a pillow has always tried to do, to give the head a place to rest, without ever fully letting it fall. Elsewhere, far to the east of Mesopotamia and the Nile, sleep was shaped by a different idea. Not softness, not elevation alone, but balance. In ancient China, the pillow became a vessel of energy, not merely a support for the head, but a participant in the body's harmony. And unlike what many might imagine, these pillows were not soft. They were hard, deliberately so. Crafted from porcelain, stone, or jade, Chinese pillows were often heavy, polished, and cool to the touch. They didn't yield under weight. Instead, they kept their form. These were not objects of indulgence. They were expressions of philosophy. In traditional Chinese medicine, the body is governed by a flow of life energy known as qi, a current that moves through channels, bringing vitality to every organ and tissue. Health, in this view, depends on the free and balanced movement of qi. Too much softness, too much surrender to comfort, was thought to disrupt this balance. To allow the body to sink and sprawl during sleep was, in some teachings, to let energy leak or stagnate. A pillow that was too soft might dull the senses. It might relax the body too much, weakening the spine, clouding the thoughts. But a hard pillow, one that supported the head without letting it sink, preserved structure. It encouraged upright posture even in rest, and by doing so, it preserved the clarity of the mind. This was not a matter of preference. It was belief, woven deeply into culture. Some of the most beautiful surviving pillows from ancient China are made of glazed porcelain. They are smooth, oval, or rectangular, with flat surfaces and gently rounded edges. Many are painted with flowers, birds, or mythical creatures, symbols of peace, wisdom, and longevity. These were not just functional tools, they were art objects. Some bore inscriptions, poems, wishes for good sleep and bright dreams. Others were carved from jade, a material associated with purity, immortality, and the soul. Jade was prized not only for its appearance, but for its energy. It was believed to have cooling properties, to calm the heart, to balance the body's rhythms. To sleep with one's head on jade was, in some circles, to draw in serenity. Of course, not everyone could afford such luxuries. Porcelain pillows were used by the wealthy, by scholars, by noble families. Simpler versions existed, made from lacquered wood or plain fired clay. But the belief remained consistent. Firmness in sleep led to strength in waking life. And the practice was not isolated to the elite. Archaeological finds show ceramic pillows in both urban homes and rural villages, often placed near simple bedding mats. The decorations might differ, the glaze less refined, but the hardness of the form remained. Children, too, were sometimes given small ceramic pillows. Some were shaped like reclining animals, tigers, elephants, lions, whose backs served as resting places for tiny heads. These were not plush toys. They were symbolic companions. The firm animal body beneath the neck was thought to provide safety, even wisdom. A transfer of strength through sleep. For scholars, poets, and monks, the hard pillow held yet another layer of meaning. It prevented oversleeping. It discouraged dreamless slumber. The discomfort, if it could be called that, kept the sleeper connected to the waking world, never lost in indulgence, never fully surrendered. Dreams were to be noticed. Rest was to be restorative, not escapist. And this shows us something unique. In ancient China, the goal of sleep was not to vanish from the world. It was to renew one's alignment within it. The pillow was not there to swaddle or soothe, but to guide. A small, steady presence beneath the head, shaped not for comfort alone, but for clarity. Today, a porcelain pillow might seem unimaginable, but the principle remains that the objects we sleep with carry messages, that a pillow is never just a shape. It is a choice. To sleep on something firm, something shaped with purpose, is to trust that rest is not only about release, it is also about return. And so the hard pillow became a keeper of balance, a quiet support that did not embrace the head, but held it in stillness, not indulgence, but intention, not luxury, but wisdom in the shape of clay. As time moved westward and centuries unfolded, the shape of sleep changed again. Along the warm coasts of the Mediterranean, under sunlit stone and open skies, a new philosophy of rest began to take hold, one that favored softness. By the 5th century BCE in ancient Greece, pillows had begun to transform. No longer carved from stone or hardened by porcelain, they were sewn from fabric and filled with materials that yielded under weight. These early cushions, called proscophilia, were often stuffed with straw, feathers, or wool. They did not lift the head as high as the wooden or ceramic headrests found elsewhere, but they conformed gently to the shape of the skull. And in doing so, they introduced something new into the world of sleep: comfort as a virtue. Where earlier pillows emphasized protection, airflow, or energy preservation, these Greek cushions invited the body to relax. The head no longer hovered over the earth or rested against something cold. It settled into a surface that gave way slightly, warming with breath and time. The change was more than tactile. Greek thinkers, philosophers and physicians alike, began to consider the relationship between sleep and health. Hippocrates, the father of Western medicine, believed that a soft pillow could ease tension in the neck, reduce pain, and support better rest. He saw the head not only as a vessel of thought, but as a delicate part of the body requiring gentle support. For some ailments, he recommended raising the head slightly with soft materials to improve breathing or blood flow. The idea that a cushion could be therapeutic was not yet widespread, but it had taken root. As Greek culture spread, so too did its comforts. And in Rome, those comforts blossomed. The Romans inherited many ideas from the Greeks, their gods, their art, their architecture, but they added a layer of luxury. In Roman homes, pillows became ubiquitous among the wealthy. No longer confined to the bedroom, they appeared in courtyards, in lounges, in long dining rooms where guests reclined on couches during meals. These weren't merely decorative accents. They were part of the rhythm of daily life. Roman pillows were often filled with goose down, carefully cleaned and fluffed, or with the feathers of more exotic birds brought from distant provinces. The outer fabric might be linen or fine wool, or dyed cotton, woven in soft colors and embroidered at the edges. To own many pillows, to offer them to guests, to rest one's arm upon one during conversation, was a quiet sign of wealth. It meant one had the means to soften the world, even for a moment. And yet, softness itself had become something desirable, not as weakness, but as refinement. In a society where marble and metal defined power, the ability to rest upon something yielding became a counterbalance. It was a form of indulgence, yes, but also of elegance. Roman poets sometimes mentioned pillows in their verses, not just as household objects, but as symbols of closeness. A lover's pillow, a shared cushion at a feast, a place where secrets might be whispered or sleep might arrive between words. Even the word pulvinus, the Latin term for cushion or pillow, carries echoes of this intimacy. Something placed gently, something pressed against the body, something trusted. For those with less wealth, pillows were simpler, filled with straw, folded cloth, or plant fiber. But the idea remained that sleep deserved softness, that the head, so full of thought and sound and weight, might be cradled for a few hours each night. This shift in the meaning of pillows, from symbolic to sensory, marked a turning point. No longer were they tools of utility alone. They became companions to pleasure, to health, to the human desire not just to survive the night, but to enjoy it. And as Roman roads stretched across Europe, Africa, and the Near East, so too did these soft customs. Pillows traveled with armies, with merchants, with diplomats. They crossed borders stitched into sacks, passed down through households, appearing in markets far from where they were first sown. In this way, the cushioned pillow spread not just as an object, but as an idea. That sleep could be sweet, that rest could be softened, that the space between waking and dreaming might hold comfort, not carved, not cooled, but gently yielding beneath the weight of a human head. The fall of Rome did not end sleep, but it did change how it was shaped. In the centuries that followed, as the Western Roman Empire gave way to smaller kingdoms and scattered feudal lands, many comforts that had once seemed common faded into rarity. Roads grew wild, trade slowed, and the soft goose-down cushions of the Roman elite quietly vanished from everyday life. Pillows, once symbols of refinement and elegance, began to draw suspicion. In early medieval Europe, from the 5th to roughly the 10th century, the very idea of sleeping with one's head elevated by a padded cushion came to be seen, by some, as excessive. In monasteries, where simplicity and humility were virtues, pillows were often banned. Comfort, especially during sleep, was considered indulgent. The body was not to be pampered. It was to be disciplined, even in rest. Some religious leaders went further. They warned that soft pillows might weaken the body or cloud the spirit. To sleep on a cushion was, in certain circles, to stray from the path of austerity. Even kings and nobles, though free from monastic rule, sometimes viewed pillows with skepticism, especially in times of war or famine, when displays of comfort could be seen as out of touch with hardship. And so, for a time, the pillow all but disappeared from most European beds. Those who still used them tended to fall into three groups. The first were the wealthy, noble families who could afford to maintain traces of Roman luxury through generations. Their pillows were few and often hidden beneath layers of cloth or furs, but they existed. Small, square cushions, sometimes filled with wool or feathers, resting on carved wooden bed frames. The second were the infirm, people recovering from illness or injury, for whom a raised head brought ease. Midwives and caretakers sometimes kept soft bundles to support the heads of those in childbirth or convalescence. In this context, the pillow was not a luxury, but a tool. And the third were clergy of high rank, bishops or abbots whose positions afforded them certain comforts, even as they preached restraint. In their chambers, modest pillows might be permitted, especially for long nights of study or prayer. But for the majority of people, especially peasants and tradesmen, sleep was simpler. Most slept on straw pallets or thin mattresses made of hay or dried leaves. If anything was placed beneath the head, it was often a folded cloak, a bundle of spare clothing, or a sack stuffed with rags or leftover wool scraps. These makeshift supports were not designed for comfort. They were whatever was available, shaped by necessity, not intention. Still, even without formal pillows, the instinct to lift the head remained. People folded garments, rolled up shawls, or used the bend of an arm to find the smallest ease. And in this, the ancient impulse endured, not through objects, but through gestures. As centuries passed, Europe began to shift again. Trade routes reopened. Ideas flowed between East and West. Contact with the Islamic world, especially through the Crusades and Mediterranean commerce, brought renewed exposure to classical knowledge and comforts. In places like Spain and southern Italy, where Eastern textiles and luxuries entered through port cities, the idea of the soft cushion began to return. By the 12th and 13th centuries, pillows had crept back into wealthier homes. Lords and ladies once again rested their heads on down-filled sacks, sometimes embroidered with family crests or lined with silk. Pillows began to appear in paintings, tapestries, and illuminated manuscripts, quiet markers of status and refinement. But they remained, for many more generations, objects of privilege. A common household might go years without a single pillow. And even when one appeared, perhaps brought as a gift or inherited through marriage, it was often used sparingly or shared among several family members. It wasn't until the very late Middle Ages and the early stirrings of the Renaissance that pillows began to trickle down into broader use. As textile production increased, and as feather and wool supplies became more widely available, pillows shifted again, from symbols of luxury to items of aspiration. Still, for most of medieval Europe, the pillow was not an everyday presence. It was something imagined, whispered about, seen in noble chambers or religious texts, a soft thing in a hard world. And yet, even in its absence, its idea lingered. The body still knew to turn on its side, to place an arm beneath the head, to fold something, anything, between cheek and floor. The memory of comfort persisted, passed down not through inheritance, but through posture. A pillow is not always a possession. Sometimes it is simply a shape we remember. As the hum of machines filled the air and smokestacks rose across cities, the shape of daily life began to shift. The 19th century brought the Industrial Revolution, a tidal change in how goods were made, how people lived, and how even the smallest comforts moved from rare to routine. And among those comforts was the pillow. For most of human history, pillows had been handmade, sewn by individuals, filled with whatever was available, reserved for those with time, means, or skill. But in the industrial age, that changed. Textile factories began producing fabric in enormous quantities. Sewing machines made cloth faster to assemble, and stuffing materials that once required careful harvesting, like wool or feathers, were increasingly replaced or supplemented by plant fibers like kapok, and later man-made fillers. This meant that for the first time, a pillow could be bought, not inherited, not commissioned, not bartered, but simply purchased. Mass production made them affordable. A factory could churn out dozens, even hundreds of pillows in a day. Retail stores began to carry them. Catalogues listed them alongside bedding and garments. In households across Britain, France, the Americas, and beyond, a pillow became not just a possibility, but an expectation. And with that accessibility came innovation. Materials evolved. Cotton batting, a soft and springy filler, became common in the mid-1800s. Kapok, a silky fiber harvested from the seed pods of tropical trees, offered a light, buoyant alternative to heavier feathers. These new fillers were less likely to clump and easier to clean. They also held less moisture, making them more hygienic, in a time when understanding of germs and sanitation was growing. Sleep itself was starting to be studied. By the early 20th century, physicians and early ergonomists began to pay attention to posture during rest. The shape of the spine, the alignment of the neck, the way the head tilted on a surface. These details, once the domain of intuition or tradition, were slowly becoming scientific. The pillow, in this light, became something more than a comfort. It became a device. Designers and doctors began creating pillows to serve specific functions. Some were shaped to support the curve of the neck. Others were intended to reduce snoring by adjusting the angle of the head. These orthopedic pillows often had ridges or contours built into them, a far cry from the simple square cushions of previous centuries. Materials changed again. By the mid-1900s, synthetic fibers such as polyester became common. These were inexpensive, washable, and resistant to dust mites, a concern as indoor allergies became more recognized. Later still came memory foam, developed from materials originally designed for airplane cushions by NASA. This dense, slow-reacting foam could mold to the exact shape of a person's head and neck, providing uniform support and reducing pressure points. The idea was simple. A pillow should do more than feel good. It should help you sleep better. And in many homes, it did. Pillows became categorized by sleep position, side, back, or stomach. Advertisements promoted models for pain relief, for cooling, for travel. Some had built-in speakers. Others claimed to fight wrinkles. Specialty pillows for pregnancy, acid reflux, and even meditation entered the marketplace. But even as pillows became technical, they remained emotional. A favorite pillow is rarely chosen for its materials alone. It's chosen for its familiarity, its softness, its scent. Many people form strong attachments to one specific pillow, bringing it on trips, refusing to sleep without it, knowing the exact weight and feel that signals home. Children carry theirs through early years. Adults notice when theirs is missing. And even as pillows wear down, as filling shifts and edges flatten, they are often kept long past their prime. Because comfort is not only structural, it is remembered. By the late 20th century, it was rare to find a home in the industrialized world without pillows on every bed. What had once been a carved stone for the few had become a soft companion for the many. It is perhaps one of the quietest revolutions of the modern age, the rise of an object so small, so ordinary, that it barely draws attention. Yet in its evolution, we see the full arc of human intention, from practicality to symbolism to comfort, and finally to care. A pillow, mass-produced, scientifically shaped, and widely shared, became not only an object of rest, but a small expression of dignity, a way for nearly anyone, anywhere, to close their eyes at night with the head gently lifted. Not because they were wealthy, not because they were royal, but simply because they were human. When the body lies down to sleep, something quiet begins to unfold beneath the surface. Muscles loosen. Breath slows. The weight of the day settles into stillness. And at the center of this shift, quietly, without fanfare, the spine begins to rest. It is easy to forget the spine in sleep. During waking hours, we think of posture, of standing tall, of bending and lifting and turning. But sleep has a posture too. And the spine, particularly the neck, depends on the pillow to maintain its natural shape through the night. From a structural perspective, your head is heavy. On average, it weighs between 8 and 12 pounds, about the size of a bowling ball. And during the day, this weight is supported by muscles, tendons, and the curved bones of the spine. But when you lie down, the dynamics shift. The muscles that hold the head upright are meant to relax during sleep. They release their tension so the nervous system can focus on recovery. But if the head is unsupported, tilted too far forward, or hanging too far back, these muscles may stay active, subtly bracing against the pull of gravity. Over hours, that small tension can build, and in the morning, it may speak as soreness. The spine is not a straight column. It curves gently at several points, including a subtle backward arc in the neck called the cervical curve. This curve is natural. It balances the weight of the head above the shoulders. But it also means that when lying down, there is often a small gap between the neck and the mattress. A pillow, if well chosen, fills that gap. The goal is alignment. That means keeping the head, neck, and back in a straight, neutral line, not forced, not flattened, but supported in their natural curve. When alignment is achieved, muscles can let go. Joints can rest without pressure. The entire skeletal system can enter a state of ease. This is where the pillow matters most. A back sleeper, for example, usually needs a pillow that supports the neck without pushing the head forward. If the pillow is too thick, the chin may tilt toward the chest, narrowing the airway and straining the cervical spine. If it's too thin, the head may fall backward, compressing the neck and tightening the throat. A side sleeper, by contrast, often needs more height. The shoulder creates distance between the mattress and the head, and that space must be bridged. A good side sleeper pillow keeps the head level with the spine, not tilted up, not drooping down, allowing both the neck and the shoulder to relax. Stomach sleepers face a different challenge. Turning the head to one side for long hours can twist the cervical spine. For these sleepers, a very thin pillow, or sometimes none at all, may reduce strain. Some choose to place the pillow under the chest or pelvis instead, shifting pressure away from the neck entirely. The material of the pillow also matters. Some sleepers prefer memory foam, which conforms closely to the shape of the head and neck. Others prefer down or fiberfill, which allow more movement and reshaping during the night. There is no universal best, only what maintains alignment without creating resistance. And yet, even with perfect alignment, the body still shifts. Most people change positions several times each night, rotating from side to back, curling inward, straightening out. A good pillow supports these changes. It adjusts without collapsing. It cushions without forcing. It becomes part of the background, felt but not noticed. In this way, the pillow becomes a partner in rest. It doesn't do the sleeping, but it makes the sleep easier, and this ease can ripple outward. Studies have shown that proper spinal alignment during sleep may reduce morning headaches, lessen neck and shoulder tension, and even improve breathing. When the body feels supported, it doesn't have to guard. The nervous system can shift into deeper states of recovery. Dreams may come more freely. Comfort, then, is not just softness. It is structure. It is when the shape of a thing, even something as small as a pillow, honors the shape of the body that uses it. A well-aligned spine is not something we see, but we feel its effects. In the morning, when we rise without stiffness. In the quiet, when the neck doesn't ache. In the breath that flows without resistance. The pillow, simple as it may seem, becomes the architecture of that piece. And night after night, it holds the weight of the head so that the rest of you can let go. Every night, the body lowers itself into sleep, and always it does so against something. A surface, a mat, a mattress, a patch of grass. No matter the softness or shape, sleep begins in contact with the ground beneath us. And that surface, quiet as it seems, determines how the body rests and how the pillow must respond. Whether a pillow is needed and how thick or firm it should be depends not only on the sleeper, but on what the sleeper is lying upon. The interaction between pillow and bed, between head and foundation, is not separate. It is one system, an arrangement of angles, weight, and gravity. On a very soft mattress, the body sinks. The shoulders nestle downward, and the hips follow. This gives the spine room to curve, to settle. In such conditions, the head does not sit far above the torso. The gap between the skull and the sleep surface is smaller. A thin pillow, or even a folded cloth, may be enough to keep the neck in line with the rest of the body. But as the sleep surface becomes firmer, this changes. On a firm mattress, or a mat, or the bare ground, the body cannot sink as deeply. The shoulders remain high. The torso is not cradled. And now, the head, heavy and curved, finds itself higher above the surface than before. The space beneath the neck becomes larger. Without support, the head tilts downward, pulling the neck into flexion, bending the upper spine. Here, the role of the pillow becomes more pronounced. It is no longer just a comfort. It is a buffer, a bridge between the shape of the body and the flatness of the ground. The firmer the surface, the more this buffer is needed to fill space, to support weight, to prevent the neck from collapsing into awkward angles. In the absence of a pillow, the body often compensates. Many people, when lying on hard ground, will instinctively hunch the lower shoulder upward. This lifts the torso slightly, reducing the angle at the neck. Others may place an arm beneath the head, turning the forearm into a kind of living cushion. These are clever adaptations, but they are also compromises. Over time, such positions can lead to stiffness. The shoulder may go numb. The neck may ache. The arm, compressed beneath the skull, may wake with pins and needles. The body is trying to protect itself, but it has limited tools. The pillow, in this context, is a quiet solution. It offers consistency. It doesn't shift. It doesn't fall asleep. It holds the head where it needs to be. Not too high, not too low. So the muscles can rest without bracing. And the thickness of that pillow is not arbitrary. It depends on the relationship between the body and the surface. This is why different cultures, with different beds, use different kinds of pillows. In Japan, for instance, traditional futons are laid directly on tatami mats, firm woven floors that allow only shallow sinking. The pillows used with them, often filled with buckwheat hulls or beans, are low and firm. Their job is not to cradle, but to support, to match the firmness beneath. In the West, mattresses are often plush, layered with foam or springs. They allow the shoulders to dip below the level of the neck. Here, a higher pillow is often needed to keep the head aligned, especially for side sleepers. A soft, lofty cushion prevents the neck from dipping too far and creating strain. Neither is right or wrong. Each is an answer to a different question, a different surface, a different sleep environment. And within that balance lies the quiet intelligence of the pillow. It responds not only to the head, but to the floor. It adjusts not only to the sleeper, but to the mattress. It is a translator between flesh and structure, helping the spine remain whole even as gravity presses gently downward through the night. What seems simple, the softness of a cushion, the firmness of a bed, is, in truth, a conversation. And the pillow listens. It listens to the depth of the mattress, to the slope of the shoulder, to the tilt of the head and the long curve of the spine. Its role is not fixed. It is responsive. And so, from flat tatami mats to layered box springs, from straw-stuffed bolsters to memory foam contours, every pillow finds its place by answering the same question. What does the body need to stay whole while it sleeps? Sometimes that answer is thin, sometimes full, but always the pillow stands between body and ground, a quiet presence, a buffer against collapse. There is a particular kind of quiet that settles in the body when the head finds the right place to rest, a familiar softness, a subtle release. The moment when the pillow receives the full weight of the skull and everything beneath it, the muscles, the joints, the breath, begins to let go. Though it happens without thought, the shift is deeply physical. The human head, as small as it seems in the mirror, carries weight between 8 and 12 pounds in most adults. And during the day, that weight is held aloft by a network of muscles in the neck and shoulders. These muscles are in near constant motion, adjusting posture, responding to balance, subtly correcting every nod, glance, and tilt. But at night, they are meant to rest. This is where the pillow enters not just as comfort, but as support. A well-chosen pillow takes on the task the muscles have carried all day. It receives the head and holds it, not with force, but with steadiness. It fills the space beneath the neck, where bones curve gently and tissue would otherwise sag. In anatomical terms, the neck is a complex architecture of bones and joints. 7 vertebrae form the cervical spine, each separated by discs and stabilized by ligaments. Between these vertebrae are small hinge-like connections called facet joints. These joints allow for bending and rotation, looking up, turning the head, tilting to one side. But they are designed for movement within limits. When the head is poorly supported, tipped too far forward or dropped too far back, these joints are pushed into extreme positions. Over hours of sleep, this can stretch surrounding ligaments or compress tissues, creating a kind of strain that may not be noticed until morning. The body often speaks in discomfort. A stiff neck, a dull headache, a soreness at the base of the skull. These are not traumatic injuries, but accumulations, the result of long-held tension in a place meant to be still. A supportive pillow interrupts that cycle. By cradling the head evenly, it allows the neck to settle in what is called a neutral position, not overly bent, not extended, just gently curved, as it would be if standing tall with ease. In this position, the facet joints remain balanced. Ligaments are neither stretched nor slack. The muscles, sensing that they are no longer needed, go quiet. This release is not just muscular. It extends through the nervous system. As the body senses support, it reduces output to stabilizing muscles. The sympathetic nervous system, which governs alertness and readiness, lowers its tone. Heart rate slows. Breath deepens. The body enters parasympathetic states more easily, where digestion, healing, and rest are prioritized. Some research supports what sleepers have known intuitively, that a well-matched pillow can reduce neck pain and improve sleep quality. Studies have shown that pillows designed to maintain cervical alignment may reduce the frequency of waking discomfort and increase time spent in deeper stages of sleep. These effects are subtle but meaningful. They ripple outward into waking life, and the effect is not limited to the neck. The shoulders, too, respond to pillow support, especially in side sleepers, where one shoulder bears much of the body's weight. The presence of a properly sized pillow can prevent the upper shoulder from hunching or the neck from collapsing. When the head is supported at the right height, the entire upper body can relax into symmetry. The pillow then becomes a kind of scaffolding, not rigid, but responsive. a structure that holds shape while allowing softness. Its job is not to resist the head, but to receive it, to absorb weight in a way that doesn't push back. And that is what distinguishes true support from mere cushioning. A soft pillow may feel pleasant at first, but if it flattens too easily or bunches away from the neck, it may fail to hold the alignment that the body needs. A supportive pillow, by contrast, maintains its form, not stiff, but stable, so that rest can deepen without interruption. The difference is felt not in the moment, but in the hours that follow, when the body wakes without ache, when the neck turns easily, when the head feels clear and upright. These are the after effects of being properly held. And so, night after night, the pillow serves its quiet function. It doesn't move. It doesn't speak, but it carries the weight of the head, and in doing so, it lifts a burden from everything beneath it, muscle by muscle, joint by joint, until there is nothing left to hold. Only stillness, supported. Not all support is structural. Some forms of rest begin deeper, beneath the skin, beneath the muscles, in the quiet circuitry of the nervous system. The pillow does more than lift the head. It speaks to the brain, not in words, but in signals. Steady, sensory cues that say, "You are safe now. You can let go." Sleep is not a passive state. It is an act of surrender. And surrender, in any form, requires trust. For the human nervous system, trust begins with safety. The body does not sleep deeply when it feels watched. It does not rest when it senses threat. This is not weakness. It is biology, a legacy written into our evolution. For most of human history, sleep carried risk. To close one's eyes was to become vulnerable. In the wild, in unfamiliar places. In the open, sleep could not afford to be deep. The brain developed ways to guard against this. Structures like the amygdala, which scans for danger even when conscious awareness fades, remain alert. Hormones like cortisol rise in response to stress, keeping the body tense, the breath shallow, the heart ready. In such a state, sleep, if it comes at all, stays light. But when the environment feels safe, everything softens. This is where the pillow becomes more than a cushion. A soft, familiar pillow sends cues to the autonomic nervous system, the part of the body that governs heartbeat, breath, digestion, and arousal. Through gentle pressure, warmth, and consistent touch, it activates what's known as the parasympathetic branch, sometimes called the rest and digest system. This is the counterpart to fight or flight. It is the system of calm, and the pillow helps switch it on. The skin of the face and neck is filled with sensory receptors, especially around the jawline, ears, and base of the skull. These areas are richly innervated, meaning they carry a dense network of nerve endings back to the brain. When the head rests against something soft, especially something known, those nerve endings report a state of comfort. Pressure is light. Temperature is stable. There is no sharpness, no motion, no reason to brace. The brain interprets this as safety. Dr. Wendy Troxell, a sleep researcher and clinical psychologist, has described how the transition into sleep requires the brain to assess and confirm security. It must determine, even unconsciously, that there are no threats nearby. Only then does it release the body into deeper stages of rest. A familiar pillow is part of that decision. This is especially clear in childhood. Many children form strong attachments to pillows, blankets, or stuffed animals. These are not just toys. They are tactile symbols of routine, of belonging, of calm. The weight of a known object, the smell of familiar fabric. These are signals that it is okay to sleep, that the world is held at a safe distance, just long enough for dreams to come. Adults, too, carry versions of this. A favorite pillow, a certain side of the bed, a known texture against the cheek. These details seem small, but they matter. They reduce novelty. They lower arousal. They allow the vigilant parts of the brain to fall silent. And the silence brings sleep. Research into sensory processing has shown that consistent, gentle pressure can reduce the release of stress hormones. Weighted blankets operate on this principle. Deep pressure touch stimulates receptors that calm the nervous system. While pillows are not heavy, they provide a version of this sensation at a critical place, the head and neck. These are sensitive zones. They house the brain, the airway, the arteries that carry blood to consciousness. To cradle them gently is to reassure the whole body that nothing will go wrong. And that reassurance is powerful, because sleep is not a decision the brain makes once. It is a conversation that continues throughout the night. Each time the body stirs, each time a sound is heard or position shifts, the brain checks again, am I safe? A trusted pillow helps the answer remain yes. In this way, laying your head down becomes a ritual, not a dramatic one, a quiet gesture, a nightly return to safety, a signal that the day has ended and nothing more is needed from you. It is not just the softness, it is the consistency, the same shape, the same scent, the same place for the head to land. And somewhere in that gentle repetition, the nervous system exhales, not because it has been commanded, but because it has been comforted. The pillow doesn't protect us the way walls do. It doesn't lock doors or quiet the world, but it offers something subtler, a message that you've been here before, that nothing has changed, that you are still held. And for the brain, that is enough to fall asleep. There is a moment, just before sleep begins, when sensation quiets. The lights have faded, the day has ended, and what remains is the gentle contact between the body and the world. The way the blanket lies across the skin, the way the mattress supports the back, and most of all, the way the pillow meets the head. It doesn't ask for attention. It doesn't move. It simply waits. The softness of a pillow is not just texture. It is a message, a tactile signal that the body is welcome to rest. It's in the way the surface yields slightly under weight, in the way it molds to the shape of the cheek, the jaw, the temple, in the warmth that gathers where skin meets fabric as body heat seeps slowly into cloth and filling. These sensations happen beneath thought. The brain doesn't need to name them. It only needs to receive. This is the quiet language of comfort, the kind that bypasses analysis and travels instead through the skin, all over the body, and especially face, neck, and hands. There are mechanoreceptors, tiny sensory structures that detect touch, pressure, and movement. Some respond to light contact, others to sustained pressure, still others to the stretch or slip of skin. When you lay your head on a soft pillow, these receptors begin to fire in calm, consistent patterns. There is no sharpness, no cold, no urgency, just even, gentle input. The brain interprets this input as safety, not consciously, the way you might judge a room or listen for a sound, but biologically. When the skin reports that everything is soft and unchanging, the nervous system lowers its vigilance. Heart rate slows, muscle tension releases. The body stops bracing. It is not a decision. It is a reflex. And in this quiet reflex, sleep becomes more possible. The softness of a pillow is not merely physical. It is associative. Over time, the brain comes to recognize certain textures, certain pressures, certain temperatures as sleep signals. The feel of a favorite fabric, the warmth of a particular fill material, the scent that lingers in the threads. All of these become part of the nightly ritual. They are consistent, and consistency for the brain is calming. This is why so many people bring their own pillows when they travel. Not because the hotel has no pillows, but because unfamiliar textures require attention. They register as new, and the brain, wired to notice novelty, holds back sleep until the unknown becomes familiar. A well-loved pillow is not just soft. It is known. Its surface may be worn smooth from years of contact. Its shape may be slightly uneven, but it carries memory of hundreds of nights, of countless hours of rest, of all the times it served its function without fanfare. The body remembers, and when the head returns to that surface, the nervous system responds. Children cling to their pillows and blankets not only because they are soft, but because they are stable, predictable. Familiar objects reduce uncertainty. They anchor the senses in a sea of change. Adults do the same, just more quietly. We don't always think about our pillows, but we notice when they are missing. When the fill is too flat. When the case smells different. These small disruptions remind us how deeply the body relies on sensory continuity. A pillow, when right, doesn't just support the head. It invites sleep by reducing the need for movement. Without it, the body fidgets. It searches for comfort, shifts, rolls, adjusts. But with it, especially when softness meets warmth, the searching stops. The pillow warms slightly with contact, not too much, just enough to feel like home. This warmth is part of the cue. The skin responds to temperature. When the head becomes gently warm, but not hot, blood vessels dilate, promoting relaxation. The muscles of the jaw slacken. The eyelids grow heavy. No commands are needed, no instruction. The comfort of a pillow is passive. It doesn't coax sleep, it allows it. Unlike medications which alter brain chemistry or breathing techniques, which require effort, the pillow simply exists. Its presence is enough. Its stillness, its softness, its warmth. They create the conditions in which sleep can arrive. And this is why phrases like, lay your head down, or hit the pillow, have become synonymous with rest. The act itself carries meaning. It is the final gesture of the day, the quiet punctuation after hours of movement, noise, and decision. To feel the softness of a pillow against the cheek is to receive one last message that there is nothing more to do. The senses, having scanned the world all day, find nothing alarming here. Only fabric, only feel, only stillness. And in that stillness, the mind can drift. Not because it has been told to, but because the body has been given what it needs. Softness, warmth, and the quiet invitation to disappear for a while. There is a fine balance in the shape of sleep. Not too high, not too low, just enough. When it comes to pillows, this balance becomes literal, a matter of elevation. The head must be lifted, but gently, supported, but not pushed upward. The height of a pillow, though easy to overlook, plays a subtle role in how the body feels during sleep and how the systems beneath the skin respond to that position. At first glance, it might seem like a simple question of comfort. A thick pillow may prop the head too far forward. A thin one might let it fall back. But beneath this mechanical relationship lies something deeper, a connection between posture, blood flow, and the quiet reflexes that regulate the heart. Within the neck, alongside the muscles and bones, run two large arteries, the carotid arteries. These vessels carry blood upward, from the heart to the brain, delivering oxygen and nutrients to the most sensitive tissues in the body. Near the fork of these arteries, common carotid splits into internal and external branches. Sit small, specialized sensors called baroreceptors. Baroreceptors are pressure detectors. Their job is to monitor the stretch in the arterial walls, a proxy for blood pressure. When blood pressure rises, the artery stretches slightly. The baroreceptors sense this and send a message to the brainstem. In response, the body may slow the heart rate or dilate blood vessels elsewhere, bringing pressure back down. When pressure drops, the opposite happens. Heart rate increases, vessels tighten, and blood is directed more forcefully toward the brain. It is an elegant system, automatic, continuous, and during sleep, it hums quietly in the background, helping to keep circulation steady even as the body lies still. But like any system, it is sensitive to position. When the head is elevated too far, as with a stack of pillows, or an unusually firm and tall cushion, the angle of the neck changes. The arteries bend slightly. Blood flow may be redirected or slowed. In some cases, the position may lead the baroreceptors to interpret increased pressure where there is none, triggering reflexes that aren't entirely necessary. The result? Slight changes in heart rate, subtle shifts in vascular tone, a body responding to posture, not need. In most people, these effects are small. The nervous system adjusts. The baroreceptors recalibrate. The cardiovascular system remains stable. But over time, especially in older adults or those with certain sensitivities, the effects may become noticeable. Not dangerous, but uncomfortable. A racing heart in the early hours. A sensation of pressure at the temples. Morning grogginess not explained by sleep alone. More often, though, the body speaks through stiffness. A pillow that is too high pushes the head forward, tucking the chin toward the chest. This bends the cervical spine and stretches the muscles at the back of the neck. Over hours, this position creates tension. The facet joints in the neck compress. Ligaments are held at odd angles. When morning comes, the result may be a sore neck, a headache, or a feeling that sleep was incomplete. A pillow that is too low, meanwhile, lets the head fall backward. The throat opens too wide. The neck arches uncomfortably. Breathing may become shallow. In this case, the strain is different, but the message is the same. Something is misaligned. And so, the goal is balance. A pillow should raise the head just enough to maintain a neutral alignment. Where the curve of the neck remains soft, the face stays level, and the airway is open but relaxed. For side sleepers, this often means a thicker pillow to bridge the shoulder gap. For back sleepers, a medium-height pillow may suffice. For stomach sleepers, the flattest support is best, or none at all. Discomfort, in most cases, will guide the adjustment. The body is wise in this way. It shifts in the night. It flattens a pillow with time. It nudges the head into better alignment instinctively. Still, it helps to begin with the right elevation. Not too much, not too little. Modern pillows often include height guidelines. Some are contoured to match the curve of the neck. Others use adjustable layers, allowing the user to find the right rise. These innovations reflect a growing awareness that pillow height is not a matter of luxury. It is a matter of physiology. And physiology, when supported well, rewards the sleeper with ease. There is no need to fear the baroreceptors. They are doing their job, but they, like the rest of the body, prefer not to be confused. A pillow that respects the natural position of the head gives these systems fewer signals to interpret and more space to rest. In the quiet of night, it is not the volume of support that matters most, but its proportion. Just enough lift to quiet the muscles, just enough space to keep the arteries flowing freely, just enough softness to let the senses loosen their grip. A pillow at the right height becomes a conversation between structure and stillness. And in that conversation, the body can sleep uninterrupted. Sleep begins with stillness. The body relaxes, the limbs grow heavy, and the breath, more than anything, signals the descent into quiet. Each inhale softens, each exhale lengthens. The rhythm slows until it almost disappears from awareness. But for this calm rhythm to hold, the airway must remain open. And here, the pillow plays a role not just of comfort, but of breath. At night, as the muscles loosen and the jaw relaxes, the soft tissues at the back of the mouth and throat begin to shift. The tongue drifts backward. The pharynx, the hollow tube behind the nose and mouth, becomes more collapsible. For many people, especially when lying on their backs, this narrowing of the airway can lead to disrupted breathing. Snoring is the most familiar sign. It happens when air passes through a partially blocked passage, causing tissues to vibrate. The sound may be soft or loud, occasional or persistent, but beneath it is the same principle. Airflow is meeting resistance. In more extreme cases, the airway may briefly close, a pause in breathing that the brain quickly corrects, often with a small arousal that brings tension back to the muscles and restores the flow of air. This doesn't always wake the sleeper fully, but it does interrupt the continuity of rest. And while many factors contribute to this, anatomy, body position, muscle tone, the position of the head and neck is one of the most immediate. A pillow placed well can keep the airway open by aligning the head in a way that prevents the throat from collapsing. Specifically, it helps maintain the position of the chin, keeping it slightly away from the chest and slightly elevated. This gentle alignment reduces the risk of the tongue falling backward and blocking the flow of air. For back sleepers in particular, this is important. Without a pillow, or with one that is too thin, the head may tip backward excessively, causing the mouth to fall open and the throat to stretch. This can narrow the airway or even kink it slightly, depending on the individual's anatomy. With a pillow that is too high, the opposite problem occurs. The chin is pushed toward the chest, the neck flexes forward, and the airway becomes compressed. Breathing can become shallow. The tongue may press against the roof of the mouth or the back of the throat. Snoring may increase, but with the right height, just enough to support the neck and lift the head into gentle alignment, the airway remains comfortably open. Air moves easily through the nose and mouth. The tissues stay apart. The breath stays quiet. This is why some modern pillows are designed specifically with airflow in mind. Anti-snore pillows often include subtle contours that cradle the head while supporting the neck at an optimal angle. Some have cutouts for the shoulders or indents for the head to promote side sleeping, which further reduces the likelihood of airway obstruction. Others use materials that encourage the sleeper to stay in one position, minimizing rolling onto the back. Even without specialized designs, any pillow that maintains neutral alignment can improve breathing. The key is not in the brand or material, but in how well the pillow suits the body it supports. For many people, the difference is not noticed until the pillow is taken away. Sleeping completely flat, especially on the back, can lead to snoring or even gasping during the night. A brief interruption in breath that may not feel dramatic in the moment, but still pulls the body from deeper sleep stages. The brain, attuned to any disruption in oxygen, triggers a subtle alert. Muscles tighten. The sleeper stirs. The rhythm is broken. By contrast, a pillow that supports the airway offers a kind of invisible help. It doesn't force breath. It doesn't control it. It simply reduces the obstacles. The breath can move without obstruction. The nervous system, sensing that the airway is stable, remains calm. And this is how the pillow becomes more than a cradle for the head. It becomes a silent partner in respiration, allowing the lungs to fill and empty without strain, allowing the throat to stay open without effort. Each breath becomes easier, each moment of stillness more complete. The sleeper may never notice. There is no conscious awareness of airflow, of muscle tone, of throat position. Only the quiet, only the feeling, upon waking, that sleep was smooth and uninterrupted. In this way, the pillow supports more than posture. It supports breath. And in sleep, breath is everything. Not every sleeper uses a pillow, and not every body needs one in the same way. But once the body becomes accustomed to sleeping with a pillow, to the gentle lift beneath the skull, the consistent contact beneath the neck. Its absence can feel like something is missing. Not just an object, but a signal, a shape, a subtle partnership in the geometry of rest. The effects of sleeping without a pillow depend largely on how the body is positioned through the night. Stomach sleepers are the exception. Of all sleeping positions, lying face down places the most strain on the neck because the head must turn to one side to allow breathing. In this posture, a high or firm pillow only increases the angle, forcing the neck to twist upward and sideways at the same time, a combination that can compress the cervical spine and stretch the muscles unevenly. This is why many sleep specialists suggest that stomach sleepers use no pillow at all, or only the thinnest layer, something like a folded towel or a soft, low-profile cushion. The goal is to keep the neck as close to neutral as possible, avoiding excessive tilt. Without a pillow, the head lies closer to the mattress, reducing the extension and rotation required to breathe. Some stomach sleepers also find relief by placing a pillow under the pelvis instead, a shift that flattens the curve of the lower back and takes pressure off the spine. But back sleepers and side sleepers face a different challenge. For the back sleeper, removing the pillow often allows the head to fall backward toward the mattress. At first, this may seem relaxing. The body opens, the throat lengthens, but the weight of the skull can cause the neck to arch uncomfortably. The chin tilts upward. The cervical vertebrae compress. Over time, this can lead to soreness at the base of the skull, stiffness in the upper spine, or tension headaches from subtle joint strain. The airway may also be affected. When the head is tipped too far back, the soft tissues of the throat may narrow slightly, increasing the chance of snoring or disrupted breathing. A pillow, in this case, doesn't lift the head high. It lifts it just enough to restore alignment. Side sleepers, meanwhile, face the greatest drop without a pillow. In this position, the shoulder creates space between the head and the mattress. If no pillow is present, the head tilts downward toward the bed, bending the neck sideways. This side bending motion is not extreme in the moment, but held for hours, it can place uneven pressure on the muscles, ligaments, and facet joints of the neck and upper back. The result is often a stiff neck, sore shoulder, or even a slight tingling in the arm if nerves become compressed. This is why side sleepers typically require the thickest pillows, not for softness, but for structural support. A well-chosen pillow fills the space between the head and mattress, keeping the spine in a straight line from neck to tailbone. When a pillow is suddenly removed from this system, the body tries to compensate. Some people curl tighter. They tuck an arm beneath the head. They press a shoulder upward or roll partially onto the chest. These are clever, instinctive adjustments, attempts to restore support through posture. But they often come with trade-offs: numb limbs, uneven pressure, or reduced circulation. And yet, some people do sleep without pillows, either by choice, by cultural habit, or by experimentation. In time, the body can adapt. Muscles may stretch or strengthen. The spine may realign. Sleep may become comfortable again. But for those used to the support of a pillow, the transition is rarely immediate. It may involve weeks of restlessness or frequent position changes during the night. The pillow has over generations become a standard part of modern sleep, but it is not an absolute requirement. It is a response, a helper, a match to the needs of the body in its chosen shape. Each sleep position has its own geometry, and pillows, in their many forms, have evolved to answer those geometries. For the side sleeper, height and alignment. For the back sleeper, gentle elevation and airway support. For the stomach sleeper, subtlety, or sometimes absence. Removing a pillow changes the equation. Not always for worse, but always noticeably. The head is heavy, the neck is curved, the night is long. And so we place something beneath the skull, not because we cannot sleep without it, but because we've learned what a difference that shape can make. A small lift, a touch of care, a quiet partner to the spine. The body remembers what it does each night. The way it folds, the way it curls, the angle of the head, the curve of the spine. Sleep, though often unconscious, is practiced, rehearsed, repeated so many times that it becomes deeply ingrained in posture, muscle tone, and expectation. So when something changes, when a familiar support is removed, the body notices. Giving up a pillow, for those who have always used one, may seem like a small shift, but it is not. The muscles of the neck and shoulders, the ligaments that hold the cervical spine, the way the jaw settles and the head balances, all of these have been shaped by the presence of that nightly cushion, and without it, they must renegotiate their positions. For many people, the first nights without a pillow bring a sense of discomfort, not always intense, but noticeable. The neck may feel sore in the morning. The upper back might ache. The muscles at the sides of the neck, the scalens, the sternocleidomastoid, the trapezius, have grown accustomed to resting in a certain length and alignment, gently supported by the lift of the pillow. Without that lift, those same muscles must either stretch farther or contract more to hold the head in position. Joints that once rested in neutral are now tilted. Fascia, the connective tissue that wraps muscle and bone, adjusts slowly, responding to the new angles with mild tension. And yet, the body adapts, not overnight, but gradually. The human body is deeply responsive. It learns. Given repeated exposure to a new posture, such as sleeping without a pillow, the musculature begins to adjust. Flexibility may increase, small stabilizing muscles may strengthen, ligaments may shift their resting length. In time, what once felt awkward begins to feel natural. Some people report feeling more aligned after making the switch. They wake with fewer neck aches. They feel more grounded in their sleep, more in tune with the shape of the mattress beneath them. Others find their posture during the day improves. A reflection, perhaps, of the neck learning to hold itself more actively, without relying on passive support. Still, this adaptation is not universal. For every person who finds freedom in pillowless sleep, there is another who tries, patiently, carefully, and then chooses to return, not out of failure, but because comfort is complex. The body does not only respond to physical position, it responds to ritual, to association, to the small sensory cues that tell the nervous system it is time for rest. For many, The pillow is part of that ritual. Its shape, its softness, its warmth, even its scent, the way it holds the cheek, the way it anchors the head. These are not just physical supports. They are psychological ones. Removing the pillow removes more than lift. It removes a gesture, a familiar contact point between body and sleep. And so, returning to the pillow, even after weeks without, may feel like coming home. Neither choice is better. What matters is awareness. What matters is listening. If the body wakes sore each morning without a pillow, it may be asking for support. If it rests easily on a flat surface, it may be ready for something new. There is no one rule. Some people transition gradually, using a thinner and thinner pillow each week. Others shift positions, sleeping on their back instead of their side, or placing a cushion under their knees to reduce spinal tension. Some experiment with folded blankets, low cushions, or improvised supports. And across these experiments, one truth remains constant. The body will respond to what it is given. It may resist at first. It may ask for what it knows. But with time and gentle repetition, it can reshape its expectations, from high loft to no loft, from feather to foam, from elevation to level ground. The important thing is not the presence or absence of a pillow. It is whether the neck is supported, whether the spine feels long and neutral, whether sleep comes easily. Comfort, after all, is not fixed. It is learned and unlearned, and learned again. In this way, even the act of laying down becomes a conversation. With habit, with structure, with memory, and sometimes with change. Not all dreams begin the same way, and not all heads are cradled by softness. Across the world, the act of sleep, so universal in its need, unfolds in a remarkable variety of shapes, textures, and customs. The pillow, as familiar as it may seem to some, is far from a global constant. It takes many forms, and in some places it disappears entirely. In Western bedrooms, the pillow is often large, soft, and elevated, stuffed with down or synthetic fill, wrapped in cotton or linen, perched atop a plush mattress. It is seen not just as comfort, but as necessity. A bed without a pillow feels incomplete. Yet in other parts of the world, sleep takes a different shape. In many East Asian cultures, traditional bedding emphasizes firmness and minimalism. Sleep surfaces are often floor-based. Tatami mats in Japan, woven rush mats in China, cotton-stuffed futons rolled out each night and stored each morning. And with such low, firm beds, the pillow follows suit. Rather than loft cushions, sleepers may use small, firm pillows filled with buckwheat hulls, beans, or rice chaff. These materials shift slightly under pressure, conforming to the head while maintaining shape. The pillow doesn't collapse, it holds. In some homes, especially in earlier generations, children were encouraged to sleep with very flat pillows or none at all, a practice believed to promote healthy posture and independence. In Japan during the Edo period, pillows served more than just spinal alignment. For women with elaborate hairstyles, carefully arranged, oiled, and pinned sleep required stillness. Soft pillows would flatten the hair. So instead, they used wooden or ceramic headrests, narrow, arched supports placed beneath the neck, with the head suspended above. Sometimes, a cloth was wrapped over the top for softness, but the goal was preservation, not comfort. These headrests trained the sleeper to lie still, to preserve both hair and posture, and for many, they worked. Over time, the body learned the shape. The neck adjusted. The pillow became less about relaxation and more about routine, a tool in the aesthetics of rest. Change came with Western influence in the 19th and 20th centuries, as foreign furniture, bedding, and ideas about comfort entered East Asian homes. Soft pillows gained popularity, but traditional forms remained, especially in rural regions or among older generations who had grown up with firmer supports. Elsewhere, in Southeast Asia, a different shape emerged. The bolster. Long, cylindrical, and often stuffed with cotton or kapok. The bolster is not placed beneath the head, but hugged against the body. It supports the arm and knee, aligns the spine, and provides a sense of closeness. In Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and neighboring countries, it is a familiar sleep companion, as essential as a head pillow, if not more. In Indonesia, the bolster has earned a nickname, the Dutch wife, a humorous reference, perhaps, to colonial times. But the sentiment is tender. The bolster is a presence, a shape to wrap around, a steady form that helps the body feel anchored in the quiet of night. And beyond cities and bedrooms, in the deserts and grasslands, sleep becomes more improvisational. Among nomadic cultures, Bedouins in the Middle East, Tuareg in North Africa, Mongolian herders, pillows are shaped from what is at hand. A rolled cloak, a folded saddle, a wrapped bundle of cloth. These makeshift supports are not permanent objects. They are functional responses to the day's terrain. Wherever the body rests, something is shaped beneath the head. Not for luxury, but for balance, for ritual. In high-altitude plateaus or arid steppes, where sleep comes beneath open sky or inside tents, the pillow may not resemble a product at all, but its purpose remains: to lift the head, to protect the breath, to offer a gesture of care even in the absence of softness. What becomes clear across these variations is that the pillow, or its substitute, reflects more than anatomy. It reflects climate, culture, sleep philosophy. Some societies value hardness, believing it supports the spine and sharpens the mind. Others surround themselves with layers of softness, creating a nest of cushions to mark sleep as sanctuary. Some use a single pillow, others stack them high. Still others do without, finding rest on flat ground, with only the shoulder or arm as support. And yet, across all these differences, one thing remains the same. The body seeks a way to rest. It may press into a porcelain curve. It may settle on buckwheat. It may curl around a bolster or a rolled-up coat. But always, it finds a shape, a position, a stillness. In this way, the definition of pillow dissolves. It is not a product. It is a gesture, an invitation to rest, shaped differently in every corner of the world, but recognized by everybody that dreams. In today's world, pillows are more than sleep supports. They are companions, decorations, ritual objects, symbols of comfort and care. Across most industrialized societies, the pillow has become so common, so expected, that its presence is barely questioned. It greets us at bedtime, appears in hotels and guest rooms, and takes its place in the rhythms of daily life. To see a made bed without a pillow is to feel that something is missing, and to sleep without one, for many, feels incomplete. But behind this familiarity lies something deeper. The modern pillow carries not just the weight of the head, but the weight of habit, memory, and belief. We grow up with pillows. From infancy, many are swaddled near cushions or propped gently on soft supports. As we age, we're given our own pillow, not just for function, but for comfort. A place that is ours, a soft constant in an ever-changing world. And once a favorite pillow is found, it becomes difficult to part with. Even when its stuffing has flattened, even when it no longer holds its shape. Many people keep a beloved pillow for years, not because it's the most supportive, but because it feels right. It carries a scent, a weight, a familiarity that signals the brain it is time to rest. This signal is powerful. Laying one's head on a known pillow can trigger a cascade of calming responses in the nervous system. The touch of familiar fabric, the way it settles beneath the cheek. These sensory cues tell the body that the day is over, that the space is safe, that the muscles can let go. In this way, the pillow becomes more than practical. It becomes ritual. Across bedrooms, pillows also shape the visual language of rest. Decorative cushions line beds, arranged and fluffed with care, only to be removed before sleep begins. Their purpose is aesthetic. They signal warmth, hospitality. A bed with full, plump pillows feels inviting, even if only one will be used through the night. Hotels understand this instinct well. A well-made bed, layered with pillows of varying sizes and firmness, communicates luxury and thoughtfulness. To step into a room and see pillows neatly arranged is to feel that someone has prepared the space for rest. It's a subtle promise. Here you will be held. Modern pillows also reflect the growing intersection between sleep and science, or at least the marketing of science. There are pillows for nearly every need. Cooling pillows infused with gels or phase change materials to disperse heat. Anti-snore pillows, shaped to align the airway and reduce nighttime noise. Pregnancy pillows, large and U-shaped, designed to support the abdomen, hips, and back all at once. Beauty pillows, marketed with claims of reducing wrinkles, acne, or hair breakage. And travel pillows, compact loops of memory foam or inflatable rings, meant to cradle the head in upright sleep, on planes or in cars. Each of these pillows addresses our particular concern. Some are rooted in biomechanics, others in trends, but all reflect the same idea, that the pillow is not just an object, but a tool, a helper, a device that can be chosen, customized, replaced, and refined. And still, for many, the simplest pillow, soft, known, worn in, holds the most meaning. This attachment is often reinforced by family, by routine, by the scenes we see repeated in media and daily life. In Western culture, the pillow is presented as non-negotiable, part of growing up, part of being cared for, a signal of home. To sleep without one feels unfamiliar, even unsettling, not necessarily uncomfortable, but emotionally odd, as if something is missing from the bedtime script. Yet in contrast to this, modern counter-movements have emerged. Minimalists sometimes challenge the need for excess pillows, reducing sleep to its simplest form, a flat surface and a quiet room. Some health practitioners argue for thin or no pillows, suggesting that the spine aligns more naturally without elevation. Others explore traditional sleep practices, floor mats, firm bolsters, or even no head support at all, seeking to reconnect with ancestral or culturally rooted forms of rest. These perspectives invite reflection. They remind us that comfort is subjective, that what feels essential in one place may be optional in another, that the pillow, like all rituals, is shaped by time, culture, and choice. And still, in most homes, the pillow remains. It is fluffed, punched, folded, carried from room to room, traveled with, turned over to find the cooler side. It receives our thoughts at the end of the day and often catches our first moments of waking. It is quiet, intimate, constant, and whether firm or soft, new or old, it carries a quiet promise that this space is yours, that the head may rest, that the body, held in stillness, will be okay. In a world that shifts quickly, that small constancy means something. And so the pillow endures, a simple shape filled with belief. The pillow is one of the most familiar objects in the landscape of sleep. Each night, millions of heads sink into softness, trusting that this small cushion will hold the weight of dreams. And for most people, it does. The pillow helps, it lifts, it supports, it soothes. But for something so simple, the question remains, do pillows truly benefit us? Or might they sometimes do more harm than good? The answer, as with many things that touch the body daily, depends on the match. When a pillow suits its sleeper, when it aligns with the shape of the neck, the firmness of the bed, the position of the spine, it becomes an ally. It reduces strain on muscles. It cradles the head without compressing the airway. It keeps the cervical spine in a neutral, relaxed position. And by doing all of this, it improves comfort. Not just in sensation, but in structure. This comfort matters. The more at ease the body feels, the fewer signals it sends to the brain. Fewer adjustments, less tossing. Fewer awakenings. The nervous system remains calmer. The muscles stay quiet. And sleep, if not deeper, at least becomes smoother. Several studies support this. Clinical sleep research has shown that people using properly supportive pillows, especially those tailored to their sleep position, experience fewer episodes of waking due to discomfort. Some report lower incidence of neck pain. Others show improved sleep efficiency, more time asleep, less time shifting. For individuals with insomnia linked to physical discomfort, pillow adjustments alone can sometimes make a noticeable difference. But the key word is properly. The wrong pillow, too tall, too flat, too soft, too firm, can undo these benefits. A pillow that is too high, especially for a back sleeper, pushes the chin toward the chest. The neck flexes, the airway narrows. The muscles in the upper spine remain slightly engaged, bracing against the unnatural angle. Over time, this tension accumulates. A pillow that is too flat does the opposite. The head tips backward. The throat opens too far. The cervical curve becomes exaggerated. Ligaments stretch. Facet joints compress. The sleeper may wake with a sore neck, a stiff jaw, or a dull ache at the base of the skull. Side sleepers, in particular, suffer when their pillow is not thick enough to bridge the space between shoulder and mattress. Without that height, the head tilts down, bending the neck sideways. This sideways bending, held for hours, strains muscles unevenly, often leading to shoulder tension or numbness in the arm. Even a pillow that once suited a person well can become problematic. Over time, most pillows lose shape. Filling shifts, flattens, or bunches. What once held the head evenly may now slope or sag. Support is lost gradually, so slowly that the sleeper may not notice, except for the creeping return of discomfort. Then there are hygienic concerns. Pillows, being porous and frequently used, accumulate particles, skin cells, sweat, oils from the scalp. Over months, even years, they become a habitat for dust mites, microscopic creatures that thrive in warm, dark, moist environments. For most people, this is harmless. But for individuals with allergies, asthma, or skin sensitivities, an old pillow can quietly contribute to irritation. This is why many sleep health experts recommend washing pillow covers regularly, using protective cases, and replacing pillows every 1 to 2 years. Not only for hygiene, but to ensure support is still present. Still, not everyone needs a pillow. Some individuals with chronic neck pain or those exploring minimalist lifestyles choose to go without. Others experiment with alternative forms of support. Rolled towels beneath the neck, small cervical pillows, or specially contoured orthopedic cushions designed to reduce specific symptoms. For some, removing the pillow entirely brings relief. Less compression, more natural alignment, a sense of freedom in sleep. But even in these cases, adaptation is required. Muscles adjust, habits shift. The body relearns how to settle without its usual cues. So where does this leave the question? Are pillows helpful? For most people, yes. When chosen with care, matched to sleep position, body shape, and mattress firmness, the pillow becomes a quiet guardian of the neck, the airway, and the stillness of the night. It prevents subtle misalignments from becoming long-term aches. It encourages relaxation. It offers a known softness in an unpredictable world. But when wrong, when neglected, overused, or poorly suited, it can become a source of tension. The good news is that unlike many sleep issues, pillow problems are often easy to fix. The market offers variety, different heights, materials, and designs. Trial and error is common. Preferences change over time. What matters most is not finding the perfect pillow, but finding one that suits the body as it is now. Because sleep is not static. Neither is comfort. And the pillow, quietly waiting each night, is ready to adapt. Do we truly need pillows? Or have we simply grown used to them, shaped by comfort, by culture, by routine? From a biological perspective, the answer is simple. A healthy human can sleep without one. The body, in all its adaptability, can rest on flat surfaces. It can adjust. The neck will find new angles. The muscles will relearn their roles. Early humans did this for millennia, sleeping on the earth, using arms, pelts, or nothing at all to support the weight of the head. Even now, in quiet corners of the world, people sleep soundly without pillows, on firm mats, on woven beds, on the ground itself. And in many cases, they wake well. They carry no pillow into the day, and they do just fine. So no, we do not need pillows the way we need breath or warmth or water. But need is not always about survival. Sometimes it's about something smaller, gentler, something like ease. Because when we ask what a pillow truly does, we are not just asking about bones and angles. We are asking how a body, so often upright, so often braced against the day, comes to feel that it can soften. The pillow lifts the head, yes. It aligns the neck, yes. But it also says, here is where you sink. Here is where the thoughts grow slow. Here is where the night begins. It offers structure and softness at once, a rare combination. And in doing so, it becomes more than a tool. It becomes a presence. A well-chosen pillow eases the body into rest, not by force, not by instruction, but by quiet participation in a familiar ritual. The head finds the same place. The fabric presses into the same cheek. The breath settles. The room darkens. And the body, feeling all these signs at once, knows what to do. It sleeps. And perhaps that is the real answer. Not whether the pillow is strictly necessary, but whether it helps us become ready, whether it assists the body in remembering what rest feels like, whether it becomes, in time, a trusted thing shaped by sleep, shaped by years, carrying a softness that no factory can replicate. Many of us keep the same pillow long past its prime, not because it's ideal, but because it's known, because its scent is right, because its weight, flattened and uneven, feels exactly like home. Others go further, bringing pillows on trips, refusing unfamiliar beds, searching in stores for that elusive perfect blend of support and give. Because sleep, for all its mystery, is also made of habits. And pillows are one of our oldest. Not the oldest, of course. Before pillows, we had arms. We had the ground. We had clever improvisations shaped by need. But the pillow, in its modern form, is an elegant solution to a simple question. How do we support a heavy head, night after night, without tension? And in answering that, it has earned its place. We may not need it strictly, but it helps, it comforts, it allows. It becomes part of the soft choreography that turns day into night. And in a world that asks much of us, that pulls at the senses and rarely slows down, the humble pillow offers one quiet kindness. A place to rest the head, a place to leave the weight behind, A place familiar and unchanged, where the body knows it will be held. No more demands, no more thought, just stillness, just sleep. And in that simple act of support, silent, steady, unnoticed, the pillow becomes something more than fabric and fill. It becomes a friend. And for many, that's more than enough.